What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bird Flock podcast. CFL Week 1 is officially behind us. The Montreal Alouettes are 1-0. They are first placed in the East and somehow 7th in the CF or 8th in the CFL Power Rankings.
Makes sense.
Before we jump into all that, I got two things for everyone listening. First things first, the Bird Flock merch is here, ladies and gentlemen. It's fire. Shayne and I, we're not even wearing any, but trust me, go check out the link in the description below in our Instagram bio. It's all over the place. Shop some Bird Flock merch. Message us, let us know what you get. And the second message we have for you here, obviously, if you guys are Alouettes fans, you know of the page on Instagram at Alouettes Central. They're breaking all your Alouettes breaking news, rumors, all of that. So be sure to go over there and give them a follow. Once again, that's at Alouettes Central, our boys over there. But Shayner, it's week 1's in the book. Obviously, I was at the game. Shayne came down with a wicked allergic reaction, passed out, missed the entire game, and wasn't able to make it. But obviously, caught up on all the text messages I sent over. I'm sure you watched some highlights of the game and whatnot and read some articles. But, your thoughts from week 1.
I'm still not understanding the Alouettes slander. I'm understanding it was a sloppy game, and then watching the highlights, there was a lot of sloppiness on the offense, but I think that's to be expected. Like I said last week, with a new coach and a lot of new players all around that offense and a receiving core, that I think really one of them has been here and has done it in the CFL, and Keon Julian Grant.
Yeah, and Hergy.
And Hergy, yeah. But new offense, and Hergy just came back from another league, right? So he didn't really have that full experience here with the learning the playbook and everything. Defense wise, I mean, Seontae Evans, anytime you can get your hands on two balls as a DB, that's important. And just watching the highlights of my boy Najee Murray in a new position, it did not miss a beat and looked super comfortable, like he'd been playing that position for years, and looks to be like he's going to be another successful linebacker for the Alouettes.
100%. You touched on a lot there. The first thing I want to touch on, and it was definitely the biggest question mark going into last week, that was the receiver depth, or just not even the depth, just the receivers in general for the Owls. In a lot of press conferences, Cody said, he came out and said, like, we know what we have here. And the great thing about guys who have never been in this league before is no one knows what we have here, right? So Ottawa, I don't think, knew what to expect. And they really didn't know what to expect from Austin Mack. Austin Mack obviously came out 4 receptions, 120 yards in his CFL debut, voted player of the game by the Owls fans, and just had an unreal game. I think Cody said in the post-game presser, he said, it felt like every time I threw him the ball, he came down with it. And outside of like a little 10 out, I think he ran like a little dog. That was really his only catch of the game. Everything else was contested or 50 yards down the field or whatever it is. But I think that the concerns of the depth make sense, right? Obviously, after Hergy and Keon and Julian and Austin Mack and Keshawn Abram, there's really not much there, right? So I think the concerns are justifiable for now, but the guys we have on the field are ballers, and I think we really saw that on Saturday.
Dude, and I think it was you talking before the game. Like, these guys didn't come from small schools.
No.
They came from big time schools and did it in big time schools, so they know what they're doing out there. It's just a matter of playing in a different league and adjusting to that league. And dude, Austin Mack obviously did it. I think it's gonna not be as easy, obviously, every other game of the year. But if he's gonna adjust to the game like this, he's gonna be a CFL superstar. And I had been talking about him, obviously watching him with the Giants. And watching him at Ohio State. I had talked about him previously, and I was excited to watch him play, and I didn't think he was going to pop off like that. But just the catches he was making, physical catches that most guys are dropping, especially in their first game in a new league.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody's arm on that 61-yard ball.
Dude, wow. He let it rip. So, like, the first play of the game, was it was just like a little, like it looked like a counter leading into a toss to Stanback. So Stanback took a step in and then step back out, tossed it out to Stanback, and he had green grass and he just got tripped up by the ankles. And it turned into a 2nd and 12. I was like, oh fuck, like I thought they were gonna break that. And then very next play, second play of the game, Cody comes in, shows off the arm right down the middle, right in front of our seats too. The icing on the cake would have been for Austin Mack to walk it in, but I think it was very fitting that Cody got, the first touchdown of the season, walked it in. But something that surprised me on that, Cody handled 100% of the short yardage situations.
I
I don't know
saw
if,
that.
if that was what you were expecting too, or it makes sense, right? Cody's a huge body. He's one of the goats at the sneaks and at the short yardage game. But I was surprised we didn't see Caleb Evans.
I mean, yeah, he's a big guy, and I think he's done it before, but I don't know. Like he came in the league kind of doing it, fitting that role, right? But I don't know if I'm sitting here, a guy who has the past couple of years of injury concerns.
Yep.
When I got Caleb Evans sitting behind him, that can very easily get that yard. Also, I don't know if I'm putting my starting quarterback in harm's way to do that. But it worked. I mean, he did that touchdown run, and he handled more of it. But I think going forward, I don't know. Maybe it was just Caleb Evans wasn't ready, or there's something we don't know.
And Cody
Uh,
had that fumble too. He had a fumble on a 3rd and 1.
yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens going forward. But me personally, I'd rather not have my starting quarterback handling that workload.
100%. 100%. I was shocked. Like Cam and I were sitting there and we were like, why is Caleb on the sideline? It wasn't even near Jason Moss. He was just like it was
And even if it's not Caleb, even if it is Davis, I don't care who it is. But
I don't think it needs to be Cody. And like you said, Cody, the injury struggles the last few years. Something you don't really want to see. Obviously, the Owls gave up 6 sacks. And as a former offensive lineman, obviously you know that the hate is going to go right to the offensive line. What happened to the offensive line? What happened? Looking back at it, I don't think all the blame can be put on the O-line. I think the O-line definitely missed some blocks, missed some assignments. But 2 or 3 of the sacks alone were caused by a blitzing half that a running back should have picked up. And other than that, there was just some really, really long developing plays that I didn't like. That just Cody had to hold on to the ball for way too long, right? Play actions leading into double moves and all that, and it felt like Cody was holding on to the ball for 10 seconds. But I would not be worried about this offensive line. I think on paper we have one of the most talented offensive lines in the league. But yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that.
no, I mean, if you look at the stats, I think 3 or 4 of the sacks came from DBs alone.
Yeah,
You know, they're coming off the edge, man. They're sending more guys than the Owls are keeping in. I think it's going to get fixed. It's an O line that, you're the guy in the middle has never played with these guys before. It's
yeah,
going to take an adjustment period, and Justin Lawrence, and give him a couple games. It's not the O line that we're going to see for the rest of the year.
100%.
And Cody's going to get more comfortable behind this O line too, and the receivers, they need to get more comfortable getting open quicker.
Yeah,
And a lot of them, like we said, their first game here. It's an adjustment period to a wider field, a bigger field, how to get open, create space. Once they adjust, I think the ball's going to be coming out a lot quicker.
agreed. Yeah, I really like what you said about just Justin Lawrence, getting used to working with these other 4 linemen. Like for anyone who doesn't know the intricacies of football, right? The center on that O line is calling out blitzes, he's calling out protections, he's calling out all this. So just gelling with his guards and tackles is huge, right? And it's something that will definitely come, and especially now that they've seen live bullets, right? They've had these live reps, and they're going into a bye week. I don't know what the Owls' plans for the bye week is. Actually, I don't know if they're practicing. I don't know if they're taking off. I don't know if they're going half a week or whatever it is, but I'm sure the O-line will definitely figure it out.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about it.
And then jump into the other 2 phases. The other 2 phases of the game, and something that will never pop up on the stat sheet. We'll start with the special teams. We were blown away by the punt coverage team. The punt coverage team was unreal. Like, first of all, Joseph Zima, was sending these punts to the moon, 60
But
yards.
boy,
Dude, his punts were unreal on Saturday. And two guys that really stood out to me were Zach Lindley and Tyrell Richards. Tyrell Richards is maybe the scariest gunner on a punt unit I've ever seen. The guy's fucking ripped, first of all, fast as shit, probably 250 pounds, probably fucking 3% body fat as a gunner. The scariest thing I've ever seen. I can't imagine being like a DB or a receiver or whatever it is on the opposite side of that. Terrifying, but no, the punt coverage team was unreal. Obviously, that's led by Byron Archambault, and he just did a great job with that. I don't know if you have anything to say about that. I know that probably doesn't show up on the highlights too much. And obviously you weren't at the game, but any comments on that? Obviously, the Owls have always had good special teams with Worthy and whatnot, but the punt coverage team is something I think goes unnoticed quite a bit.
yeah, I don't really want to talk about the punt coverage, but I want to talk about the field goals and Cote going 4 for 4. And talking to him and talking to Zima, the adjustment period for the new snapper, and Bourassa and how he's a lefty. I think he was, or whatever. He snaps the opposite hand than they're normally used to. Just for them to go 4 for 4 and the snaps to be clean and the way everything was working, shows how much time these guys put in practice themselves, and something that doesn't get talked about a lot. So it's encouraging that it didn't miss a beat, even with a new snapper.
100%. And then obviously last phase of the game, the defense. Look, you didn't give up a touchdown. They were pretty much lights out. Forced 3 turnovers. I know there's 3 picks. I don't remember if there was a fumble. I don't think there was. But three interceptions, a few turnover on downs. Ottawa really couldn't get the run game going whatsoever. JD got a sack, and it looks like the Alouettes are going to have a top 3 defense this year if huge if everyone stays healthy.
Yeah, I mean that's the important part, right? Especially we've been talking about that linebacker depth. I just talked about Najee Murray going off, but uh, football's a game of injuries, and I know it's always a next man up mentality, but the lack of depth there could hurt them if injuries get in the way. And but I want to talk about Avery Williams in kind of a revenge game. Team cut him kind of out of nowhere. Comes in 9 tackles, I think it was. And a guy that we knew was gonna be a staple in the middle of this defense, because everywhere he's gone, has been a staple. He's a dog. I'm excited to see what he's going to do for the rest of the year. He's got 17 games left. I think this is a guy that could lead the league in tackles, and just fly around the field everywhere. And he's got 2 very, very quick, small, undersized linebackers that cover sideline to sideline well, to let him clean up the middle of the field.
Yeah, and if you guys remember from last week, Shayner and I did a little segment of, the position group you're most excited to see and the position group you're most nervous about. For me, the position group I was most nervous about was the linebackers. And I think they might have been outside of the DBs, because the DBs had a great game. Well, the whole defense had a great game, but the linebackers showed up, man. Like Bev played out of his mind. Najee played out of his mind. Avery Williams played out of his mind. And just all around, like I was really, really impressed with the linebacking core. We didn't see many of the backups. I don't think we saw Shangyo come in at middle linebacker. I don't think we saw Harley Mana come in. We did see Tyrell Richards for 1 drive on defense. It's just tough. He needs more defensive snaps, but those 3 guys are also just dogs, right? He definitely needs more defensive snaps, but I was really, really impressed with the linebacking core. And jumping down to the D line, obviously, you know what you're going to get with JD and Nick Usher. And just so you know, again, this isn't something that'll show up on the highlights or anything like that, but JD and Nick Usher, every single play, one of them was beefing with an O-line, and I fucking loved it, dude. First of all, Ottawa's O-line was really chippy. Like, they were really, really chippy, hitting late, and all that. But every single play, Nick Usher, JD, in someone's face, like telling him he's coming for him next play. And I just loved it. Because I was saying, like, again, as an O-line, like, you love getting into the shit talking, you love getting into the beef with the D-line. But again, as an O-line, I'll be the first to admit, D linemen just get more angry, and D linemen win those arguments 9 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10. And
For sure.
JD obviously got to the quarterback and won that argument pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean JD's always been that type of guy. He's just gonna let you know exactly what he's gonna do, and it's exciting to have him back in Montreal for a full year. I know we only got him late last year, and it definitely improved the D line very quickly when he came in. So a full year of him here is really gonna help that defense, and having the deep corner room that we do is gonna help him and Nick Usher get after the quarterback a lot this year.
Yeah. And another thing that'll help them get after the quarterback is the rotation that we have at D tackle. So the rotation is just a 3-man rotation, but let me tell you, they do not skip a beat, man. So you obviously have Mondo, you have Mustafa Johnson, and then my favorite player to watch this past week was Israel Antween. Dude, he comes from Oklahoma State, and you'll see it when we go see him in person. This dude is so strong. It's ridiculous, dude. Obviously, in the preseason game, he had the 2 sacks in the preseason finale. Really came out of nowhere with those 2 sacks too. And he was playing in the third, fourth quarter of that game. So he was not, rolling with the ones. And I think he really earned his spot in that game. But watching him at full speed, he occupies double teams while driving them 5 yards back into the quarterback's face. And that, like you said, that just lets JD and Nick Usher go to work. And I loved what I saw from him. It was really crazy.
Yeah, and I think you said right now it's a 3-man rotation, but as this keeps going along, more guys are going to get their names in there. More guys are going to come up, and it might be a 4 or 5-man rotation, and just keep those boys fresh, and pin their ears back and get after the quarterback.
Yeah, and one guy on the D line that we didn't really see, and it doesn't surprise me, is the first round pick Lualuguak. Um, I don't think we were expecting him to see much. Obviously, he joined camp late too, especially going to the NFL rookie mini camps. But give him a few, weeks to adjust back to the Canadian game. Obviously, he's been in the States for 4 or 5 years now. Was a dog at UConn, went to play in the national championship with TCU. Give him a few weeks to adjust back to the Canadian game. I'm sure he'll get into that rotation at end, or he's big enough that he can slot in a D tackle too, be a undersized D tackle. But I'm really, really liking this D line depth we have here.
Yeah, and I know we talked about it a lot, but I'm interested to see trying to get Tyrell Richards more snaps if the versatility is starting to be something that they use more often going forward.
Like have him
Uh,
come off the edge.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've talked about that in every episode, and we're probably going to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
But the versatility of him is not something that you could, dude. We're talking about a linebacker being a gunner. Like,
Dude, that's fucked. That's insane.
it doesn't make sense. I
It's
mean,
insane.
so I think at some point the versatility is going to kick in, and in a league where versatility is so
Yeah.
massive and unmatched compared to any other league, I don't think he's going to be lacking defensive snaps very, very often.
Yeah. And dude, all it does, if anything, is it gives JD and Nick Usher a chance to catch their breath and be fresh for the next drive, if anything. Because I think he goes in there and I think he makes an impact. But if anything, it just gives them the time off and it gives them
Even just throw him in there on second and long or something, and
yeah,
take out one of the big D linemen and throw
100%.
him up the middle, or JD up the middle or something.
100%. 100%. So now, obviously, like I said, the Owls are into a bye week.
Devastating.
Devastating. Not sure how that's going to go. And then they'll be in Hamilton. And I think I'm actually going to that game because I'm going to Toronto to see the Jays. I think I might sneak into to see the Owls there, which is really exciting. But yeah, so for you, how do you like? I know in the CFL it's kind of inevitable, but how do you feel about bye weeks this early in the season? I kind of hate it.
I hate it. I hate how many there are also, but I mean
That's
that's
the great thing about getting a 10th team. You can cut these bye weeks in half.
yeah, for sure. I hate how many they are. I hate having a bye week this early, but someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah.
You know, I don't think their bodies are really that banged up after one game, and that's really what bye weeks are kind of for.
Yeah.
That and adjustments, and they may have played probably the worst team in the East. I don't think they need to adjust that much. Defensively, offensively, maybe work on some of the timing and stuff like that. But it's only week one. It's bound to happen that the timing's not on. So a week two bye week, I don't think helps helps them in any way.
No,
I guess it's better than a week 1 bye week that Toronto just had, which doesn't make sense. I don't get how the Grey Cup champions are not playing
so weird.
on the first week of the season, but I'm not the guy that makes the schedule for the CFL. So
Oh, you're not?
no, unfortunately not. I know there's a lot of rumors swirling around that I am, but unfortunately I'm not the guy. I
No.
mean, I think it was you that told me this morning that Toronto has like 3 in the first 10 weeks or
They
something.
have all their buys in the first 10 weeks.
Like
And
that's
they go
just
nine
ridiculous.
straight
Uh,
without a buy.
I get what the CFL is trying to do, and have the West play their games kind of early, their home games early because it gets really cold out west. But I don't know.
It puts Toronto at such a disadvantage.
Yeah,
Huge
yeah,
disadvantage down
it's they're playing 10 games in a row. Um, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And then obviously the last thing I want to touch on, and I don't know how much you'll be able to, but just the vibe in Montreal in general, the vibe in the stadium was really electric, right? We posted a video on Twitter, somehow got 13,000 views. Crazy, but
I'm
that's
in.
I'm not complaining. But first of all, packed house. I in the 3 years we've had season tickets, or 2 years, whatever. Um, I have never seen the stadium packed like that. 21,000 in the stadium. Obviously, there to see Our Lady Peace at halftime, which was, I didn't really listen, but great setup. The stage looked amazing. Um, just everything in general. I think this year, um, again, love him or hate him, but PKP has done so much good for this team already. And for that, like you see he walks by in the stadium, like as he walks by, that section claps for him, goes crazy. And you love to see it, man, because he really did save football in Montreal. As scary as that is, he 100% saved football. Like we spoke about it
Dude,
before. Like who was going to pay for training camp? Who was going to like pay for anything this year? Really, he saved football.
he absolutely saved football. There was a time where me and you were panicking. We didn't know if
Yeah, dude, we were like, fuck, we just started a podcast. It's going so well, and now the Owls are gonna fold.
Dude, I thought the Alouettes were done in Montreal, and this guy comes in, buys the team, and dude, 21,000. It's like a Habs game out there, man.
It is a Habs game.
And we talked about it. Uh, there's no better time than a Saturday night to be downtown Montreal, and Montreal kind of has to work with that and market that and have more Saturday night games or more Friday night games.
Yep.
And it's gonna keep working in their favor like that.
Yeah, and just all the events they have this year are so exciting, right? So next home game, which is the first, I think. First of all, Canada Day. That in itself, awesome. But on top of that, it's Kids Day.
Another Saturday night.
Yeah, another Saturday night. Kids tickets are $5 and $2 hot dogs, baby.
Oh,
Toonie dog night.
brutal.
Yeah, fired up for
The
that.
boys are going off.
But yeah, just the vibe in the stadium really was unmatched, and it was so much fun to be there. It really, really was. Um, Pretty much all I had for this week. We can't do a preview of next week's game, obviously because the Owls are on bye. But we will definitely be back next week. Preview of the Hamilton game. Hop on with you guys, break that down. Fired up for that. That's a huge benchmark game.
That's gonna separate Montreal and show where they're gonna be in the East. Um, Hamilton had moments where they looked like they could win a Grey Cup, and they had moments where they looked like they were headed towards the first overall pick.
Yeah. So I want to jump into what we saw from kind of the rest of the CFL this week, starting with Hamilton. You obviously had some thoughts, so I'll let you go. But I definitely have some thoughts too.
Uh, I think in talking to one of my buddies and watching the game, it was just there's no energy in Hamilton. The team there was no playing for each other. It was no. I know it's a bunch of new guys that came into Hamilton. It's a really revamped team, but it was like they weren't teammates. It was like they were all playing for themselves.
Yeah.
I think it hurt them. Obviously playing against maybe the greatest dynasty I've ever seen in my life.
They're so good again, and I hate it.
In Winnipeg and Colaros, and that guy's lights out. But just the vibe and there was no click in Hamilton, and just didn't seem like they wanted to be there.
No, 100%. And then, yeah, like we said, Winnipeg was Winnipeg. They looked lights out. One team that I was not impressed with at all was Calgary. I don't think Calgary looked good at all. The one shout out I'll give is to my boy Micah Awe. Guy
Dude, ball out.
balled out. Um, but I don't know if this was a case of BC looks really good with VA or Calgary looks so.
Yeah, I think it's like a transition year for Calgary, and BC they came in ready, and the offseason hype looked real for the first game. And if VA could stay healthy and keep playing like this, they might be an actual threat to Winnipeg in the West.
Yeah, 100%. And then the last game of the week was yesterday. That was Saskatchewan and Edmonton. A lot of former Als in that game. Trevor Harris, Jake Winicki, some other receiver that plays for Edmonton.
Dude,
And
watching Jake Winicki run a route in Saskatchewan, I was like, it feels awkward. It feels so awkward.
I didn't like him in number one either.
It doesn't feel right.
No.
And
Trevor
then
Harris, again, I don't think love the guy. I don't think Trevor Harris played that well. He did not play that well.
no,
But
I
I
mean
wasn't impressed with either team, really. Like you take out Gino's 92-yard touchdown, and Cornelius had like 70 passing yards.
I mean, I don't know if Cornelius is really the guy out there. I think he's
You
just
don't
a
think Corn
placeholder
Dog's the guy?
until Ford kind of takes over, which I don't think is going to take that long.
No, you think Trey Ford's gonna?
I think he's coming in. I'm going to sit here and say week 6. I think
That's the number I had in my head too.
I think Ford's coming in and at least getting 1 to 2 starts before they try and figure out what the hell they're doing again.
Yeah. And the Commonwealth curse continues.
Oh my god, it's so bad.
It's 18 or 19 games now. They have
It's
not.
actually impressive. Like I'm kind of
You
impressed.
know how fast I would refund my season ticket? So fast.
It's kind of impressive. I'm not gonna lie.
It's so. I don't know how they do it.
I don't know either.
But look, like I said, can't preview next week's episode. Going forward, obviously, we'll have an episode a week where we break down last week, preview next week. We do have a nice interview coming for you guys, probably dropping late this week as well, and then we'll be previewing next week, probably on Monday, Tuesday of the following week. And so you got a lot of good bird flock content coming your way. As a reminder, guys, go down, link in the description, link in our Instagram bio, shop the bird flock merch, send us a message when you buy something, tell us what you got, and we will certainly show you love when you get it. Post it on your story. We will definitely repost that. Can't wait to see you guys there. And Shayne, any final words here?
I'm gonna miss watching Alouettes football week 2.
Facts, absolutely. All right, everyone. We will see you next time.